Hello, my name is Tammy, and I really thank you for joining me. A little bit more today about essential oils and the way they are affecting our systems. Now, how I want to say that, and I actually just finished writing something about this on my Patreon page, but I wanted to actually talk about it here to see how I might be able to elaborate on it a little bit further and potentially elicit some further discussion on it. The thing is that basically everything is a chemical of some sort, especially when you break it down. And chemicals are messengers throughout nature. It doesn't make any difference what part of nature we're talking about. A chemical is a messenger, and they are sending signals that nature simply responds to. It doesn't judge a chemical as the right one or the wrong one or a good one or a bad one. It just senses there's a recognition of, hey, there's a message coming in, and that message, sinks into the cell receptor, thereby sending off a message or queuing up the next action that needs to take place, and then everything goes from there. Well, like I said, nature doesn't look at that and go, well, there's something wrong with this. It just goes, oh, okay, let's move on. And so it does. So the basics of this is that everything is chemistry. We are living in a chemistry experiment. So this is really important when it comes to the way we use essential oils. I mean, like I said, everything we're facing, everything in our environment, whether it's something we're breathing or we're drinking or we're putting on our skin, it doesn't make any difference. It all has an effect in the system. Our food as well. I mean, that's what vitamins and minerals and fats and proteins and carbohydrates and phytonutrients, that's what they all are. The difference is essential oils have the ability to act like signaling molecules at the cell receptor site. Vitamins and minerals and carbs and fats and proteins and phytonutrients, not so much. Those are the cofactors that are used in combination with other chemicals that are produced from these signaling molecules that in turn produce other chemicals that are used for further use in the system. So that's the reason why I like to partner oils and food, because the oils do not contain nutrients. They are the acting molecule, very much like a pharmaceutical. Now, this might get an eyebrow raise from a few people, but that's where 80% of our medications are coming from. As I've mentioned in other videos, besides 30 years of organic and biochemistry of the essential oils, I have also taken it to study. I've also schooled in pharmacology, and then I've taken the study the physiological mechanism of plant constituents in the arena of drug development. I had to slow down and say that because that's a lot to say, but that's really what I bring to the table, is an understanding of these plant constituents and the synergy that's created as a plant and how they are affecting us at the cell level. And when we can step back and realize that that's actually what's happening, is that we're creating a chemistry experiment. It's just like if you were to mix, this is actually how they developed urea. They mixed two inorganic compounds and were able to create urea, an organic compound that our body produces. But they were able to do this in a lab. And once that took place, all bets were off with regards to science. At that point, the field of organic chemistry exploded. And this is an important thing to remember. So it's not magic. It's just the way chemicals are combined. And so when we realize how much we are putting into our body, it's fair to say that the body is not malfunctioning. It is in a dire state of healing. It's in a dire state of healing crisis. That's how I want to say that. It's, where we are really, our systems are really working hard to survive here because there is so much information coming in. And I've talked about a lot of information before, but I really wanted to emphasize it in the arena of looking at our system as a chemistry lab where we're mixing chemicals at all times. And so when we introduce oils onto the body in addition to everything else, we are really causing the system to go, well, wait a minute, I don't need to do that right now. Because remember, signaling molecules don't necessarily turn something on, they will turn something off. Estrogen is an example I'll use here. Estrogen activates certain functions, and then the system has to deactivate that. So gene activity is activated and deactivated by our very own hormones. Another good example is the release of iron. There's a very specific hormone that when the hormone is deactivated, iron is released from the liver. And then when that hormone is activated, iron remains stored in the liver. Okay? Well, the immune system, the macrophages more specifically of the immune system, will inhibit the release of iron. Why? Because they actually they activate the release of that hormone I just mentioned. So, and now look how many cases of chronic fatigue we have in the world. So the purpose for that is to actually give you an example as to how our own body will activate and deactivate genetic function for the purpose of for the full system function. Sorry, I was kind of trying to stumble. I didn't want to use the same words over again. But it's really, that's what goes on, is our system will activate and deactivate what's the chemicals that are needed. I mean, this is the same thing can be said for oxidative stress. We produce oxidative stress not because we don't know, our body doesn't know what else to do, or because we're inundated with I should say, how do I say this? Oxidative stress, yes, is the result of environmental toxins. Okay, it is. That's what it is. It's oxidative stress is the result of the pressures put on the body, whether you want to call it an outside toxin or not. It's just we produce oxidative stress. What causes the oxidative stress to be produced? Any number of things. Because here again, the way the body interprets stress is not the way you and I interpret stress. It doesn't just look at mental and emotional instability. It takes every factor. So if you're overusing, let's say in this case, I don't want to pick on lavender, so I don't know. I guess the one that comes to mind for me would be clary sage. I've talked about clary sage before, but not nearly as much as I have lavender. So sorry for that little pause, but I needed to find something that I could relate to myself. So I love the smell of clary sage, and truthfully, clary sage has its own very many benefits that that would suit my system, knowing my family history. Okay, so there's that. But what I also know is too much clary sage for me, I only use it a couple of days at a time. Beyond that, I start to get some funky kind of symptoms. I start to feel actually anxious. I start to get ringing in my ears. I mean, there's so I can only use it a little bit at a time. And what that says to me is that, it helped when it needed it, and it's almost, and my body's going, no, you don't need it anymore, so stop using it. But that said, if I continued to use it, I'm going to be stressing my body, right? Because I'm not listening to the symptoms. I'm not listening to what's going on. I'm just continuing to do something because, well, I was told, right? It's good for me, so I should keep using it. In the meantime, I'm not paying attention to the symptoms. Therefore, I'm stressing my body. So even though I'm using something natural, it's still producing oxidative stress. You see what I'm saying? So the source of oxidative stress is not as important as why oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is produced as a result of external pressures and symptoms occurring in the body being stressed. Okay? So it produces oxidative stress. That oxidative stress actually has a purpose. It's not to pollute you and make you sick. It's actually to help eliminate things, toxins. It's actually produced to stimulate inflammation in the event that there's an injury. It's It's needed to eliminate certain chemicals. So there's a benefit to oxidative stress. Now, here's the really cool thing. We have the ability, believe it or not, to turn that off. Our systems have the ability to deactivate oxidative stress. You know why it's not happening? Because we're not listening to our bodies, because we're not slowing down long enough, and we're doing so much. That is the reason why we have to start paying attention, and why we have to understand that what we have right here is a chemistry lab. And if you haven't taken a chemistry class, which if you've gone through high school, chances are you've had some form of chemistry, you'll know that we can make things explode, and we can make really cool colors, and we can make all kinds of fun things. And it's just, and some of the chemicals that we use are the same, different depending on the formulas. So it really depends on what you mix together, that the results that you actually get. And so that's what I'm getting at here. And this is the reason, number one, why not every essential oil is good for everyone. And number two, listening to your body and paying attention to the symptoms immediately, or as soon as you can, okay? And this is something that I said to someone earlier. Once you stop using the oil, you're taking the pressure off, and the body can actually undo. Like I just mentioned to you, it has the ability to undo oxidative stress. We've been led to believe that we have to like detox ourselves like crazy and constantly focus on all these antioxidants. Because why? Because the body can't do it. What we're basically being trained to do is megadose the body. And this, guys, is harmful. It actually stresses the system even more. If the body can break the nutrients down, which it does when we're not stressed at the molecular level, this is why oils are helpful. Being stressed at the molecular level is our problem, is our challenge. And if we can relieve it at that level and support our digestive system at the same time, we are getting the nutrients. We don't need to megadose on these nutrients. And therefore, the body can actually do what it's made to do. Yes, it sounds like I'm speaking about an ideal world, and we have to be aware, and we have to also understand that being imperfect, we are imperfect. We live in our world is perfectly imperfect. And if we can smile about it and be easy about it and be safe with ourselves about it, not be reckless with our choices, and really begin to practice safety, you know, being easy on ourselves and understanding that our body is adjusting every single day to the world. It's adjusting to our emotions. It's adjusting to our thoughts. It's adjusting to environmental factors. It's adjusting every time you take a breath. And as long as you realize that and you can have ease with that, you'll begin to restore ease to your system, and learning how to navigate those symptoms, not trying to relieve them. You know, so here again, back to the clary sage, ringing in the ears. Well, you know what? If you actually have access to the internet, which you more than likely do if you're watching this, and or you're reading books on aromatherapy, you're going to find recommendations for relieving ringing in the ears. But guess what? I just stopped using the oil. I didn't go, oh, got to go get another oil, got to use that oil for the tinnitus. No, I didn't do that. But that's our mindset when it comes to medication. One symptom, oh, okay, so we'll use something to relieve the symptom. Oh, now I have a new symptom. Now we take another something. We don't need to be symptom chasing. We need to understand that we just did something that aggravated the system, and so let's stabilize. And so sometimes using less is more, and using it less frequently maybe to your advantage. And so learning the nuances of your system and being easy with it, not reckless and not hard when something happens that you don't like, and just recognize that, oops, that's not what I needed. That didn't work, so we're going to go on to something else. That's what I'm getting at. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate your participation in this journey. It's a different level of aromatherapy, and I'm really excited to introduce it, and I'm really excited to play with the theories, and I'm really, really excited to share them with you. So let me know how I might be able to assist you. And thanks again for watching, Tammy at synergessence.com is the email. TammyDavis8 on Instagram and Twitter. And synergessence.com is the website. I hope to hear from you guys. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.